I've known Creton ever since I was elected, and he was elected as an MEP. In fact, he was the first MEP that I met when I came out to Brussels. We were both looking for somewhere to live, so we were new. And from the very beginning, I felt he was not only a very good politician, but also a very nice and good person, which is actually rare in politics. It's really quite rare.
He has the values, that means the direction where to go. He has the intelligence to understand what it means and what needs to happen and the facts on the background. He has the determination to work stubbornly on the issues what he believes in. And fourthly, and not the least important, he has the ability to cooperate and find people around him to work for those goals.
Αυτά τα παιχνίδια οδηγούν σε εξαθλίωση εκατομμύρια συμπολίτες μας στον κόσμο. Δεν μπορούμε πλέον να ανεχόμαστε την ανεξέλεκτη δράση αυτών των εταιριών και απαιτείται σήμερα να μπει ένα σαφές πλαίσιο λειτουργίας σε ευρωπαϊκό και παγκόσμιο επίπεδο αυτών των εταιριών.
It makes me think of the figure in Shakespeare, The Tempest, where you have a ghost, Ariel, and this is a very poetic figure, but with strong intelligence. And Creton has been very poetic in this parliament, wandering around with his romantic head, and at the same time very firm on environmental issues, on sustainability, and trying to incorporate this thinking in the social democratic thinking, and it's not easy to achieve always.
Ο Κρήτονας είναι ένας από τους αγαπημένους μου ανθρώπους εδώ στο Ευρωπαϊκό Κοινοβούλιο. Είναι ίσως ο νεότερος Έλληνας Ευρωβουλευτής. Γνωριστήκαμε από τις πρώτες μέρες της θητείας μας εδώ και πολύ σύντομα εκτίμησα και την εργατικότητα του και την εμπειρογνωμοσύνη του και την επιστημονικότητα με την οποία προσεγγίζει τα θέματα του, αλλά κυρίως το πάθος με το οποίο ασχολείται για ζητήματα περιβάλλοντος και για όλα όσα τον ενδιαφέρουν και με τα οποία ασχολήθηκε εντατικά.
Ο ρόλος της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης δεν θα πρέπει να είναι να βγει νικήτρια σε έναν διεθνή γεωπολιτικό ανταγωνισμό για τα πετρέλαια και τους διαδρόμους ναυσιπλοείας τακτικής. Ο ρόλος μας θα πρέπει να εξασφαλίσουμε να γίνουν σεβαστές οι αρχές μας, ο σεβασμός για την περιβαλλοντική ακεραιότητα της περιοχής, να επικρατήσουν οι αρχές όπως διεθνή συνεργασία, ο σεβασμός στους θεσμούς του ΟΗΕ, σε οποιοδήποτε νέο καθεστώς προκύψει στην Ακτική από τη συντελούμενη αυτή τεράστια περιβαλλοντική καταστροφή.
He's very much involved and really always concerned about the issues and really on top of things. So in that sense it's a pleasure to work with him because he really cares about the issues. And there are a lot of politicians who are working here but where you always wonder why they're working here. With Creton you never doubt it.
It's somebody you would really want to have as a good friend and always ready to work on an issue and in a good spirit.
Creton ist ein wunderbarer Kollege. Er ist Mitglied in meinem Arbeitskreis und ist mir sehr aufgefallen durch sein Engagement. Er hat sehr viele interessante Veranstaltungen organisiert. Er hat sich immer eingebracht und hat den umweltpolitischen Aspekt bei uns in der Fischereipolitik mitgetragen und unterstützt.
In this place you work to and explore the common ground between people of different backgrounds, different political groups, different nationalities. And over the years I've found him a really good team player, someone who's committed to firm beliefs, green beliefs, which I tend to share, but also someone that can build coalitions, that likes to play a part in bringing people together, finding that common ground and getting the majorities in the parliament that can make sure that we're able to pursue progress.
The European Parliament has to be more active in pushing for progress in negotiations, not only with a resolution before its December COP, this December the COP19 in Poland, but in the intermediate meetings now in Bonn and others. And I call also on our citizens, on the European citizens, to speak up for climate action and progress in negotiation. If it's not an urgent social demand, it will not happen.
Creton is a very good friend of mine and he is a very active member in the Environment Committee and I like very much his style, how he's working continuously but also with a lot of humor. He's totally different.
And I've seen that he is dedicated and passionate about big things but also about the small. For instance, like the global climate agreements, the reduction of CO2 emission, but also about trying to prevent water privatization in Greece, and also about keeping the jobs for fishermen.
I think he is a very good politician and a sincere human being.
So I call upon the Council to act according to legislation, according to democracy, to take a stance, discuss, disagree with us if it may, disagree with the Commission, but take a stance. Tell us your opinion about the multi-annual plans. It's your democratic responsibility.
I'm a British Conservative lady of a certain age, and he's a young Greek socialist Green. So you wouldn't think we would have a great deal in common. But he's a very reasonable man, and I think that's what I've discovered over the time, is that whilst he has very strong beliefs, and they don't always chime with my own, he's always willing to listen to another point of view.
We can have different views, we can have coming from different points of Europe, talking different languages, but it is possible to have a common understanding.
Διαφωνήσαμε στην αρχή για κάποια ζητήματα που αφορούσαν το Κυπριακό, αλλά δεν μπορώ να τα αποδώσω σε κακή πρόθεση παρά πιο πολύ σε ζητήματα μη σωστής πληροφόρησης, ας με επιτραπεί ο όρος, αλλά μας έδεσε μια πολύ στενή σχέση, μια πολύ καλή φιλία όλο αυτόν τον καιρό.
Natürlich ist Politik auch immer Wettbewerb und Kriton und ich sind in einen Wettbewerb gegangen. Er war sehr interessiert an der Grundverordnung. Ich habe letztendlich gewonnen, aber Kriton hat mich dann sehr fair unterstützt.
You can't say he's the most conventional of people. And sometimes some of my colleagues find that upsetting, and again are wondering, what to make of him, whether he's a sensible, serious player. I think those who've actually worked with him closely find he's very serious, very determined to try and promote a positive agenda, and absolutely prepared to build coalitions, find common agreement in order to make progress.
He's not the kind of person where you have a conflict. He's the kind of person which you solve a conflict with. That's what you do with Kriton.
For me, Warsaw is the new Bali. Warsaw is the meeting which is not procedural. We have to come out of Warsaw with a clear roadmap, a timetable, said the Commissioner.
He's so much focused sometimes on one issue. For example, we were together in Warsaw in the climate negotiations, that was very recently, and he's so much focused on the deforestation issue where we made some progress there. So he was very optimistic about, well, it's going pretty fine, the negotiations here, whereas the rest really was not going fine. So it was like, Kriton, go look beyond the deforestation, then you see a lot of more problems.
We visited together the COP conference in Warsaw, and there was a really depressive atmosphere. But Kriton, he mentioned, hey, look, it's also positive things. And I must say it's not so negative as you mentioned. It's also a positive thing. Think about the positive aspects here at the conference. And at the end of the day, he was right.
Many Greek MEPs are men, old, and traditionally dressed. And he comes there with his sweater and long hair and a relaxing smile. And so I immediately found him as a nice person to work with.
I'm a Green politician, and usually I get the blame that I'm not properly dressed, but with Kriton on my side, I'm fine.
It was one autumn 2 years ago when he just walked here in the parliament with his sandals and bare feet and t-shirt because it was very warm, and he just had came back to work after vacation. He definitely didn't look very sort of suit having MEP.
I remember when Kriton first walked into the Environment Committee of the European Parliament some 5 years ago. He had long hair down to his waist, I think, and I wondered what to make of him.
Αν δεν επενδύσουμε και εμείς σε θέματα όπως είναι η ενεργειακή απόδοση και η ενεργειακή εξοικονόμηση, τότε θα χάσουμε διπλά. Από τη μία, τα νοικοκυριά μας, οι επιχειρήσεις μας, οι δημόσιες υπηρεσίες θα συνεχίσουν να πληρώνουν παράλογα κόστη. Από την άλλη, θα κινδυνεύσουμε να χάσουμε την πράσινη πρωτοπορία της ευρωπαϊκής οικονομίας.
Θυμάστε βεβαίως ότι αναδείχθηκε ως ο καλύτερος ευρωβουλευτής στην Επιτροπή Περιβάλλοντος και ασφαλείας τροφίμων και υγείας. Αυτό ήταν ένα σημαντικό επίτευγμα για ένα νέο παιδί.
Kriton is among those colleagues in the European Parliament from Greece who are doing a wonderful job for the environment. Before I met Kriton, I knew only Stavros Dimas from Greece as a very, very, very important man for environmental issues and against global warming. But Kriton, together with Michalis Tremopoulos and Nikos Chrysogelos, they are really also in Parliament very, very good colleagues for environmental strategies.
Kriton is one of my best friends in the Envy Committee. We are fighting together on climate change, on forests, on other issues.
Well, I think we have had a good cooperation because we both want to be ambitious on behalf of climate change.
Commissioner, the Parliament has full faith on you. We know that you are a woman that not only tries to do its best, but does the best possible. The target is not, and as I see it and as we see it, is not a success in Doha. The target is success in the negotiations for an agreement in 2015. And this is a fight, country by country fight. We fight to win the hearts and minds of people and bureaucracies each time in one and more country and another and another.
But I also think what really matters in politics is then, are you then able to get the results, to get things moving forward? In other words, to find the pragmatic solutions so that you can get enough people on board. And for instance, Kriton Asinis was responsible for the Parliament for this forestry regulation, and that is exactly what you need. It's not enough to have very fine visions and objectives. You also need to be able to get the majority in Parliament on board, and he managed to do that, and obviously that's good for a climate action commissioner.
He is very bright and very eager to get especially into environmental matters and issues. And then, of course, we had the chance to familiarize very deeply. I was sitting at the Environment Committee, and he has very soon, I would say, conquered an autonomy for the issues, and he has been since very effective in the environmental issues.
Οι αναπτυσσόμενες χώρες έχουν συμβάλει το λιγότερο στην κλιματική αλλαγή. Την ίδια στιγμή όμως βιώνουν τις πιο πραγματικά χειρότερες επιπτώσεις. Στην Αφρική εκατομμύρια άνθρωποι χρειάζεται χρονιά με τη χρονιά να μεταφέρονται όλο και πιο μακριά, να μετακινούνται καθημερινά όλο και πιο μακριά για να βρουν νερό, ξυλία για να μαγειρεύσουν, αλλά και τροφή. Είναι άνθρωποι που εξαρτούνται από τα φυσικά οικοσυστήματα, για τις υπηρεσίες που προσφέρουν τα φυσικά οικοσυστήματα. Και είναι άνθρωποι που δεν έχουν συμβάλει καθόλου στην κλιματική αλλαγή.
We were at the same time negotiating on two legislative files. I was doing on monitoring of greenhouse gas emissions, and on the same time he was the rapporteur, so the lead negotiator of the Parliament on deforestation. And since we were having those negotiations with the Council at the same time, it was also very nice to conclude negotiations in a successful way together. And I think that was also very much good to have that shared moment, and also having the drinks afterwards together. And that also, of course, it's part of the game, right?
We worked together on this issue on priority substances in water. Those are very toxic substances that we try to eliminate from our water in Europe. And we worked together there, many long meetings. And the very good thing is also that we worked for the same goals. That made it even easier.
Πετύχαμε να υπάρχουν αυστηρότερα όρια για τις ουσίες που έχουν ήδη χαρακτηριστεί ως επιβλαβείς. Όμως είναι πραγματικά ντροπή για το Συμβούλιο ότι χαράμισε πραγματικά μια ευκαιρία για την Ευρώπη για επενδύσεις για να βγούμε από την κρίση, πρακτικά στις υποδομές διαχείρισης των υδάτων, μεταθέτοντας την ημερομηνία εφαρμογής των νέων υποχρεώσεων για τις ουσίες που έχουν αναδειχθεί ως επικίνδυνες και επιβλαβής για το 2027.
He works very hard at his brief, and particularly in the environment area, and I've worked with him. I've helped him on certain things and he's helped me. I've signed amendments. I've worked in lots of areas on the Environment Committee with him.
I see him not a PASOK-man. I see him since ever a Green.
I think that to get it right on our forests, on our land use, and particularly maybe even on biofuels, that is incredibly important.
Όλοι μαζί καταφέραμε με διαδικασίες express να ολοκληρώσουμε σε πρώτη ανάγνωση αυτή τη διαπραγμάτευση και ήδη από το 2013 να αρχίσει η καταγραφή των αγροτικών εκπομπών από τα κράτη-μέλη. Πρέπει να καταφέρουμε μέχρι το 2015 να έχουμε την Παγκόσμια Κλιματική Συμφωνία και θα τα καταφέρουμε.
We have had some victories when it comes to get a better position on climate change. But you have to go on fighting. We have had some small victories together, but we need each other for the next mandate, for the next term, to really try to win the real victories.
His attempt to make our group think more consistently on environmental issues is, I think, very important, because there's no future for social democracy without sustainable development.
There are areas on which I don't agree with Kriton. A good one is genetic modification. I have a view that this is a technology that we should explore, and Kriton and I will never agree on that, but we can still discuss it.
Με λύπη μου είδα για ακόμη μια φορά στο κοινοβούλιο αυτό και αυτή τη φορά στην Επιτροπή Περιβάλλοντος να καταψηφίζεται μια τροπολογία για τη σήμανση των προϊόντων βοηδών που διατρέφονται μεταλλαγμένα. Αναρωτιέμαι ποιος δεν θέλει οι πολίτες να γνωρίζουν τι καταναλώνουν, ποιος δεν θέλει οι πολίτες να επιλέγουν και ποιος υποστηρίζει τα συμφέροντα των εταιριών ή αυτό που νομίζουν οι εταιρείες ότι τους συμφέρουν να λειτουργούν εγκρυπτό.
First time I met Kriton was in the Fisheries Committee. We were both interested very much in one specific issue that was biodiversity and more specifically even the protection of the bluefin tuna. I was going to ICAT and he was very much interested also into going, so we met because we share not only the views but also the necessity of tackling this in a very more radical way. So that's when we met and we started since then. I'm talking about 2009, the beginning of the legislature, and since then we have worked a lot in many other aspects too.
Πραγματικά ζούμε το θέμα από την επιστημονική άποψη. Ο ερυθρός τόνος κινδυνεύει άμεσα με εξαφάνιση. Εμείς προτείνουμε να σταματήσει το διεθνές εμπόριο σήμερα, που προλαβαίνουμε να σώσουμε τον τόνο, να συνεχίσει το εμπόριο εντός Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης, το οποίο άλλωστε δεν επηρεάζεται από το CITES, και την ίδια στιγμή να αποζημιώσει η Ευρωπαϊκή Ένωση τους αλείς και τις επιχειρήσεις που θα πληγούν από την απαγόρευση των εξαγωγών.
He asked to meet me, and he basically wanted to hear from me about fisheries and why it was important. And he just wanted to explain to me that he believed that this was extremely important for him, and he was prepared to do everything he could to make us succeed in saving the oceans.
If you ask the fishermen what is their problem is that they cannot catch enough fish, because there are not enough fish around. So this is what our fishermen need in order to have a sustainable, a secure future, to have income. We need funds that lead to more fish in the seas, not more boats. Our fishermen don't sell boats, they sell fish. This is what they need.
We've worked closely on trying to bring about a fundamental reform of the common fisheries policy to rebuild fish stocks. I think the changes that we've been able to secure in the Parliament and get the agreement from the governments means that fish stocks are going to start recovering across most of the seas, except of course the Mediterranean. I want to work with them again for another 5 years so that we can start applying the same lessons for the Mediterranean.
Η Μεσόγειος αντιπροσωπεύει ένα πολύ μικρό κομμάτι του πλανήτη μας, μόλις το 1% περίπου της θαλάσσιας περιοχής, όμως είναι πάρα πολύ πλούσια, έχει το 8 με 9% της θαλάσσιας βιοποικιλότητας. 50% των αλλιευτικών σκαφών της Ευρώπης βρίσκονται στη Μεσόγειο, 60% της εργασίας, της απασχόλησης στην αλληλεία λαμβάνει η χώρα στη Μεσόγειο, αλλά δυστυχώς το 54% των αλλιευμάτων υπεραλλιεύεται. Τι φταίει? Προφανώς η αποτυχία της έως σήμερα κοινής αλλιευτικής πολιτικής, η μη εφαρμογή πολλές φορές των κοινών μας αποφάσεων, αλλά κυρίως και αποφάσεις που λαμβάνουμε χωρίς να σεβόμαστε τα επιστημονικά δεδομένα, αποφάσεις που λαμβάνουμε κινούμενοι από κακώς νοούμενα εθνικά συμφέροντα.
In the deep sea fisheries, we started with very opposite positions, and at the end, we celebrated with champagne at the bar a common report where the positions of both of us were indeed there.
Πριν από λίγες ώρες, η ελληνική κυβέρνηση ευνηδιαστικά ανακοίνωσε ότι στις 12 σήμερα το βράδυ κλείνει την ελληνική τηλεόραση, τη δημόσια τηλεόραση, όλα τα δημόσια κανάλια και όλα τα δημόσια ραδιόφωνα. Την ίδια στιγμή πουλιέται το νερό της πόλης μου, Θεσσαλονίκης, και το νερό της Αθήνας, την ίδια στιγμή πουλιούνται σχολεία και δημόσια κτίρια.
Together we fought against privatization of water. That it's an extremely important issue for us, although I'm from Sweden and he's from Greece.
Κυρία Επίτροπε, ρωτάω την Επιτροπή ξεκάθαρα. Είναι εντολή της Επιτροπής και μέσω της Τρόικας να κλείσει σήμερα η κρατική ραδιοτηλεόραση? Είναι εντολή της Επιτροπής μέσω της Τρόικας να πουληθεί το νερό, τα σχόλια και τα δημόσια κτίρια στην Ελλάδα?
He shared his passion for growth in Greece, and he was very worried about the privatization, about how Greece was being sold, about how the Greek economy was pushed over the brink because of the economic crisis.
Lui, quando si parla di Grecia, diventa fanatico, diventa impossibile contestargli qualunque cosa. L'unica competizione vera l'abbiamo avuta su chi ha le isole più belle, l'Italia o la Grecia.
I was a bit amazed that the Greek socialists had Kriton on their list and elected, because usually socialists from Greece are very organized and sharp within the party organization and trying to survive within their party, and Kriton comes from another planet.
I do remember the first time I went to his office to discover that he sits on a ball. He doesn't use a chair. He uses a big inflatable ball, which I associate with torture in exercise classes. So I cannot see any reason why someone would want to use one voluntarily, but there you go. He's a unique character.
Die Arbeit, die Kriton und mich verbunden hat, hat dann letztendlich auch zu einer sehr guten Freundschaft geführt. Und an meinem Geburtstag bekam ich von Kriton dieses kleine Schiff, das den Ausdruck auf der einen Seite zu Griechenland deutlich macht, mit all den verschiedenen kleinen Flaggen, und natürlich auch die Freundschaft zu mir symbolisiert hat. Darüber freue ich mich nach wie vor sehr. Vielen Dank.
He thinks strategically. He's not always, pushing for the right side and always losing, but he tries to win, and he often does.
He was the rapporteur for LULUCF. And I said, oh, it's a very critical report, and I was not sure if he can handle the right thing. And I must say he did it really well, and in a perfect way, with his own style. And in the end of the day, it was successful. It was perfect.
Once somebody said to me that in political life, everybody will at some point or another meet the gorillas. And that is your hardest moment in politics. And then Kriton said, and you know that if you have to face the gorillas, there's no keyhole, you cannot get out. There's only one thing. If you are in that moment of your political life, which is the hardest for you, face the gorillas and beat them.
I think what he really wants to do is to save the world. And I think that's really great about him. But also that he delivers.